As of 4.14, CloudStack brings a new concept of unmanaged virtual machines and importing of virtual machines. This is under the idea of ingesting an existing cluster or zone into uh, CloudStack environment. So, for importing a VM, we have some new APIs and which allow importing of unmanaged virtual machines. Currently, this feature is available only for VMware. That is, only VMs under vSphere clusters can be imported into CloudStack. And apart from general use case, there are certain prerequisites that must be fulfilled for importing virtual machines, unmanaged instances into CloudStack. So to import particular virtual machines into CloudStack, uh, the CloudStack environment must already be configured to mm, uh, directing to the vSphere cluster, and all the storage must be mapped to as primary and secondary storage, whatever we are trying to achieve. So let's see. Currently, we have this vSphere cluster where we have certain virtual machines. We have already imported our vSphere cluster into CloudStack environment, and as we can see, there are currently only two virtual machines which we have created from CloudStack environment. But our vSphere cluster has a number of couple of more virtual machines, which can be seen here, but they are not being reported into CloudStack. Let's see if we power them on. Does that make any difference? So our unmanaged virtual machines are running now, but as we can see, they will still not be reported into CloudStack. So to get them being reported and being managed through CloudStack, we need to perform certain operations. For that, we can use new APIs that we have seen here. There are two new APIs: List and Managed Instances API, which allows listing of virtual machines that are not currently being reported into CloudStack. And second API is Import and Manage Instance API, which allows importing an existing and unmanaged instance. So let's see. We can use, since this feature is not available in UI yet, we need to call these APIs through command line interface such as Cloud Monkey CMK. So we have already configured our Cloud Monkey to allow calling APIs on our running CloudStack environment. First, let's see what are the parameters that we need to pass. Okay, so as we can see, we can pass the cluster ID and name of the uh, instance that we want to get details of. If we go into our existing CloudStack environment, we can see the ID of our uh, cluster. Okay, so if we run this API, we will get a list of all the virtual machines. If we can see, let's filter this output little. As we can see, we are now with this API, we can see there are three unmanaged instances that are being reported. If we want to see details for a particular unmanaged instance, we can simply pass its name. It report List API reports all the uh, different configurations that uh, this particular instance is having, like number of disks, number of network interfaces, display OS display name, OS ID, which would be useful for template, and like CPU is useful for setting up service offering. We can set different disk offering for data disk if we have. So this can be importing can be done with import API, which we can see. It takes a number of parameters, allows importing into a particular account. Cluster ID would be same because our VM will be imported in the same cluster. We can provide a list of data disk offerings for all the data disks. We can, similar to deploy virtual machine API, we can pass certain details to be set into our imported VM. We can pass domain ID, host name. Domain ID would be useful for setting, importing virtual machine for a uh, particular account. When account name is passed and domain ID is passed, we can set host name for the instance. Migrate allowed parameter allows migration of virtual machine if certain disk offering, service of compute offering, or storage, disk offering is not matched fit for the storage. So uh, while importing, CloudStack will automatically migrate virtual machine to uh, a suitable host or its disk to the suitable storage. Then we have name. Name would be the same which we get from our list API. Nick IP address list is useful when we want to set some manual IP address for a particular network interface. Similarly, we want to map our network interface for the unmanaged instance into a particular network in the cloud stack. Although this will be done automatically if an existing VLAN ID is found matching in the cloud stack, like uh, this VM with the name VM1. It is having an interface with VLAN ID 1390, and if our cloud stack environment already has particular network which matches this VLAN ID and this switch, so that would be import can be done without passing this parameter network list. We can also import an unmanaged instance into a particular project with this parameter. For setting compute offering, we can use service offering list, and similarly, we need to set template ID, which is which will be used for our imported virtual machine. So let's try to import this virtual machine. First, we set the template ID uh, for our imported virtual machine. So we only have one template right now. So um, as you can see here, there is only one template. So we are setting it to that. To set compute offering, we will use this parameter. We'll set it to small instance. Now this we have already created this network in our uh, CloudStack environment. So if we go to networks, we have set a isolated network with same VLAN ID. So we need to import it into this network. Since VLAN ID will be automatically matched, we don't need to provide NIC network list, but since this is an isolated network, we need to pass IP address. So this can be done as take this ID. We don't want to manually assign IP address right now, so we will just set it to auto. This can be done as by setting IP address 4 equals to auto. If we run this API now, it should import our unmanaged instance into CloudStack. It would import APIs give same output as we get from deploy virtual machine API. So as we can see here, it reports all the details. If we now go back to UI, if we go into instances, we can see VM1 has been imported. We can now perform all the operations, like we can stop this running VM. It should be successful, similar to existing CloudStack virtual machines. Like this is stopped, we can run it again. We can also try to see console for this VM. Maybe it's booting right now. Let's try this later. Let's see if we can also import other VMs, which we like. We have this VM2, so we can also try to import this. Okay, so this one on is on VLAN ID 1397, and it is on our L2 network which we have created into CloudStack. As we can see here. So let's try to import this one. As we are using L2 network this time, we don't need to set uh, IP address for this virtual machine, so we can directly import it. If we go back to UI, we can see all operations should work for this VM as well. Let's see if the console is accessible now. It is not accessible right now, so let's see. We can also import stopped virtual machines, so let's see if this can be done. Now we only have one uh, virtual machine which is not being reported as into CloudStack, so list API is returning only this VM3 unmanaged instance. So as this is on isolated network, we would want to provide IP address for it. Although it is automatically network is all automatically mapped, but we can still, if we want, we can still set it manually. We need to provide the ID for network we want to import it into. Oh, this is we made a error in. See, so this is imported into CloudStack as well. We can start this instance, reboot maybe others. Stop again maybe. We can see console for it as well now. So this is about importing of virtual machines. There will be documentation for it in CloudStack documentation, which would provide more details how we can use dummy template if you want to, if our existing template for the virtual machine is not available into CloudStack environment right now. How we can utilize automatic mapping for offerings, networks, etc. Using a PVLAN feature on in the while importing, using custom and fixed offerings. So all this detail will be in the documentation. As mentioned, migrate allowed will be used when there is incompatibility between host and storage stacks used while importing. So that can be utilized. So this was about uh, VM ingestion or VM port feature that is newly added into CloudStack.